Hi, my name is Emma Roselle. I'm 18 years old and I'm a part of the 4-H Horse Masters 4-H Club and have been for the past 9 years. This is my graduating year, and upon graduation of high school and acceptance into the physical therapy assistant program, I plan to study physical therapy at Indian River State College. And anatomy and physiology has just always been a passion of mine. It's always intrigued me, so that leads me to my demonstration on ways to stretch the body and why and how it's important. So here we go. Why do we stretch, or why should we stretch? Our bodies have so many systems working all at the same time. And one of the most relevant reasons we stretch is because when we are asleep and our bodies are still for so long, all of those processes slow down. Your heart rate slows down, blood circulation slows down, so oxygenated blood stops or slows, which is what helps run the muscles. So getting up and stretching in the morning improves circulation, gets the blood flowing back to those muscles, improves flexibility, mobility. We all know that when we wake up in the morning, we're sometimes a little stiff, especially if we did lots of movement or lots of exercise the day before. So getting those lactic acids and fluids moving first thing in the morning, it makes a world of difference. So also improving our posture. So a lot of us sit at a desk or sit at school all day, and all those muscles are constricted for such a long period of time, and we subconsciously slouch sometimes when we're sitting. So all those muscles are either being constricted or strained. So standing up every couple minutes or every hour, whatever it is, just to do some stretches, again, get that blood flowing again, improve flexibility. When you stretch, you release endorphins, pain reducing endorphins. So your parasympathetic nervous system, which is called rest and digest. So when you're rested, when you're stationary, your body goes through a process where it's digesting and lowering your blood pressure and things like that. And another function of that system is reducing stress. So lowering your blood pressure is one of those. So when we stretch, we release endorphins that stimulate that parasympathetic system processes. When we stretch, we actually minimize our rate of injury. So if we're stretching, keeping our blood flow, keeping our circulation, keeping those muscles warmed up and ready to go, we are less likely to create injury. And our range of motion also, most of you have had this happen where you're sitting down for a long period of time and then you go to, throw your arm behind you and you can't do it as much because your muscles are so tight, or if you stand up and you feel like when you stretch like this, muscles are so tight here or so tight in your shoulders and your back. Getting up and stretching really loosens those up and allows you to have a longer range of motion. When should we stretch? Now, there is no specific time when you should stretch. You should stretch whenever you feel necessary. So the amount of times you stretch, whenever you feel necessary, whatever makes you feel more relaxed and more flexible. But one thing that does matter is when you're stretching, what types of stretches you're doing. So there's two main types of stretching, dynamic and static. So the names are pretty self-explanatory, but dynamic meaning controlled, consistent movements that are usually 5 to 10 minutes long, low to moderate intensity. You're consistently moving as you're stretching those muscles. You're consistently warming those muscles up and getting everything moving. This type of stretching is used for before you work out. It helps improve speed, agility, and acceleration. So this is the type of stretching you would do before a sport or before a workout. And then static stretching, like it sounds, is static. It's still. It's stationary. So you're moving to full range of motion. Once you hit that full range of motion, you're holding it for 10 to 20 seconds usually, however feels best. This type of stretching helps with flexibility, release of stress, relaxation, release of tension, and this is used for after a workout or after lots of movement. So the recovery. So you should always stretch after a workout. If you're doing any kind of sports, always stretch before and after. It's so important. And a lot of people forget that. So one thing though to watch out for, you don't want to do static stretches before your workout. Why? Because when you're doing these static stretches, such as doing lunge and holding it, or putting my arm across and holding it, when you hold that muscle at its full range of motion and you're stretching it at its full range of motion, you're actually elongating that muscle. So when you elongate that muscle, it actually increases your opportunity for injury. So if it's long, it's weaker. When you exercise, you actually get shorter. So if you're doing a static stretch and you're stretching that muscle out this long and it's got this so weak, when you go to exercise, it's got to shorten so much that there's so much room for injury. So whenever you feel necessary, again, stretching is not limited to a time. What types of stretching should be. And if that's ever confusing, the internet is such a great source. What are some dynamic and static stretches? So, I'm actually going to take the camera around so I can show you the stretches so you can see my whole body. So I can demonstrate some of these stretches. Here we go. Okay. There we go. All right, so our dynamic stretches. So the movements, remember, dynamic, controlled but consistent, always moving, keeping the movement going. We can do torso twists, so without hitting anything, twisting our torso, pretty self-explanatory. We can also do this in a lunge. So if we lunge, we can also torso twist. Really gets the hips and the shoulders and the lats and the back muscles moving. We can do walking lunges, which we're all familiar with a lunge. All we're doing is adding a step. So I would put my hands on the hips, out wherever. You can even do up, it gets a little bit more stretch, helps you push down. So you do lunge and you just take the back foot forward and you keep going. Remember, Keep going. High knees. So we can either do these like we all know them, fast high knees, or even just slowly bringing your knees up to your hands, stretching those hips, stretching the lower back. However you feel is more comfortable, however you're able to, fast, slow, it gets the same range of motion. Jumping jacks, we on the jumping jacks, so arms come up, out, together, as fast as you're willing to do. Leg swings, so bringing the legs up and touching the toe. You can even switch. However this works for you. Gets those hamstrings, those quads, hip flexors, all those muscles stretched out. Also the back pedal jog, same concept as a butt kick, same thing, just different name for it. Again, just like the high knees, we can go slow and stretch the same as we can go fast. And as you can see, dynamic stretches get you out of breath, so you know those muscles are really moving. Okay, some static movements or some static stretches, stationary, post-workout. We can do cross-body arm stretch. Most of us are familiar with this. Gets those shoulders really stretched out. Remember to always do both sides. Get both sides stretched out just as much as the other side. Then we can also do with our our hand behind our head and our elbow up. Opposite hand grabs the elbow and pulls it behind the head. This is the posterior view. And really pulling that elbow across to the opposite side. And then other one. Stretching those triceps and the shoulder. And the piriformis stretch. So getting your hip flexors, your piriformis, and the outsides of your hips stretched, as well as the lower back. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. The same idea, just in different positions. However, wherever you are, whatever you have available. If you can balance on one leg, you can take your ankle of one leg, put it on top of the knee. You don't want it below the knee, you want it on top of the knee so you can bend. And if you don't feel a stretch with your leg just across, you can bend that bottom knee and go almost into a squat. And then you should feel that on the outsides of your hips. Really get that stretch. Sometimes you can feel it on the inside here underneath. It depends on how tight you are. So we can do that on both sides. If you cannot balance on one leg, if it's easier, you can also lay down and do the same thing. So you'll be laying on your back. You'll have this leg up and you'll be grabbing this leg and pulling it towards your face. You can also, if you cannot get your leg up to here, if you have, if you have a chair or anything, table, anything in front of you, you can put your ankle on the stool, the chair, whatever it might be, to get that stretch. If you can go forward a little bit to get more stretch, and you can push that knee down, hold something on the other side, push that knee down, really get that stretch. And then we have our hamstring stretch. So one of our most common stretches for the hamstrings is the toe touch. So going all the way down, keeping the legs straight, feeling the stretch from the back of your legs. If your hands are flat on the ground and you still have not enough stretch, you can put one leg forward. So I'm almost in a lunge, but I'm not in that far apart. Just a little bit forward. The front toe is gonna come up and you're gonna reach towards the front toe. That gives you a little bit more stretch, but with this one, you do have to do both sides because you get it isolates that front hamstring. So you do the other side. That stretch. Another hamstring stretch we can do is laying flat on your back, raising one leg at a time straight as possible, not letting it bend, bringing it towards your face. You can also do it standing up. It's just a lot easier when you're laying on the floor, on your back. The one-legged quad stretch. So either grab the wall, or if you can balance on one leg, great. You're gonna keep your knees together. So see how my knees are together. They're not up here, not back here, together. And stretching. If you need more of a stretch, you can lift that leg, but make sure that you're leaning forward when you pull that leg away from the opposite knee. If you don't, you're gonna feel strain on your knee. If you do have knee issues, this stretch, be very careful with. You can also get this kind of stretch with being in a lunge and straightening that back leg. The cat stretch. So you're on all fours. I'll show you. You're gonna get on all fours like this, and maybe easier this way. I'm gonna go in all fours, push your back up, and really stretch all the way through, hold it, and then come in and stretch. And make sure when you arch your back, your neck is back to get full extension. And neck is tucked all the way under. And you're pushing through your palms, through your shoulders. Really feeling that stretch in the shoulders and the back. That is especially good if you're sitting at a desk. A lot of these static stretches are good if you're sitting at a desk. Just make sure you're also doing dynamic if you've been sitting at a desk. So kind of combine those, because we do want blood flow at the same time as getting those static movements in. The cobra pose, you're going to, I cannot really demonstrate this one, I didn't have enough space, but you are going to lay on your stomach, put your hands up, and stretch back. So it would be the same concept if you were to stretch this way, stretch your lower back. So again, I'm laying on the ground, my hands are in front of or to the side of me, and I'm pushing up, almost in a push-up position, but my hips are still on the ground. So when we do all these stretches, remember that when we stretch those muscles out, when we get the blood flow moving back into them, they're loosening up, they need more, you're gonna need water. So it's very important that after you stretch, after a workout, say you, anything to get those muscles loosened up, you need to drink water. So if you get a massage, if you give yourself a massage, whatever it may be, moving the muscles, getting the muscles stretched out, drink water. So important. If you don't, you will reap you will feel it. I can't think of the word. All right, to review, dynamic stretching, using consistent movements, going to full range of motion, but keep that movement going as you're at full rotation. Remember, dynamic before, static movements after, stationary, still controlled, holding those stretches. Stretching can and should be done at all times of the day, whenever necessary, to improve posture, release tension, stress, loosen muscles, and improve circulation. In order to optimize your results when stretching or when doing whatever, and to prevent injury, pay attention to what stretches you perform and when you perform those stretches. Again, if we're pre-workout, we have dynamic stretches, getting everything moving, getting ready for intense activity, intense stress on those muscles, getting them to optimal preparation. Static, you're in recovery, you are stimulating the parasympathetic system, getting your body to recover, loosening those muscles up and stretching them out after they've been shortened after exercise. And drink water. Stretching is so important. So is drinking water. When we get up in the morning, to improve our mobility for the start of the day, get a good start, stretch in the morning. Before you get out of bed, do a little torso twist in your bed, reach across to your other arm, piriformis stretch, hamstring stretch, get that circulation flowing, get those stimulations in the brain, get that blood flow moving, and your day will be so much better. So much easier to get out of bed too, and get your day rolling. So, in all conclusion, my references are my own personal experience as a gymnast and a gymnast coach, my mom, who was also a dancer when she was younger, the internet, personal advice from physical therapists and coaches. Thank you so much, and I hope you go stretch those muscles.